So the Dallas Cowboys for the first week of free agency have been surprisingly more active than previous off seasons, which is a welcome sight to see. What we're going to do is go through every single move that has happened, who has left the team, to who they brought in, to really get a sense of where we're at throughout the first week of free agency and what this could mean moving forward. With that out of the way, let's dive straight into the video. Now, before we begin today's video, if you guys could do me a favor and hit the like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Also, subscribe if you're new and hit that notification bell as well. The reason I always mention that in every single video is because 79.3% of you guys watching are not subscribed, and a decent chunk of people that watch these videos are returning viewers. So if you are one of those people that roam around and like what you're seeing, why don't you stick around and subscribe and hit that notification bell for when new content comes out or when I go live. So we need to talk about how the Cowboys have done throughout the first week of free agency, because they've done enough moves to where I can actually do a video on this, which is amazing. Now, we're not going to go about it chronologically, because I think that doesn't really tell the tale of where the team is at the big picture of things. So we're going to go through it by category. We're going to talk about who has left the team, been released, or has yet to sign with another team but was on last year's team. Then we'll talk about who they brought back and then who they ultimately added to the squad. So let's go ahead and dive straight into that. So with the departures list here, we know Ezekiel Elliott has been cut. Next, we know that Noah Brown has gone to the Texans and T.Y. Hilton is yet to sign with another team. There is a rumor circulating that he should be back with the Cowboys. We'll, wait and see on that, considering the moves they made at wide receiver. You look at Dalton Schultz, who, as a side note, fumbled the bag pretty badly. He was supposed to get a 3-year, $36 million deal from the Cowboys, and he declined that. Rather, now he signed for a 1-year, $9 million deal. Talk about fumbling the bag, especially with a long-term implication at that, because the tight end market depreciated. So, people were asking, okay, would you have wanted Dalton Schultz back? Me personally, no. I got my guys in Ferg and Henny, so I'm not worried about that. Next, you go to Avante Collins and Jason Peters. No word on them yet. Connor McGovern went to the Buffalo Bills. Jonathan Hankins is a name that should be back with the Cowboys relatively soon, from what I have been told and from what others have been mentioning. Next, you go to Carlos Watkins, an interesting player at that, who's nice in the rotation, yet to sign somewhere else. We're back with the Cowboys. Anthony Barr is most likely gone. Next, you go to Luke Gifford, special teams guy, went to the Tennessee Titans. Anthony Brown, we'll see what happens there. Brett Maher, no word on him, but based off of what the Cowboys said, but at the end of the season, he's probably not going to be a Cowboy this go-around. Maybe he'll come in for kicker competition, and then they'll go somewhere else. Jake McQuaid, the long snapper that's been with the Cowboys, he has gone to the Detroit Lions, and Matt Overton has yet to sign with the Cowboys. People think that for some reason when Jake McQuaid got hurt and Matt Overton came in, that's when, Brett Maher started having kicking issues. That is far from the truth. Matt Overton played more games than Jake McQuaid, and it had no bearing on the situation. So you look at this departures list, I'm going to be real with you guys. This is not as bad as people would make it out to be. Realistically, the worst loss you had here was probably either Connor McGovern or Dalton Schultz, given the value to the team, but you can replace that if that's what you're trying to do here. So not really a big bad departures list compared to years past. So that's a good sign for the Cowboys. So let's go ahead and let's talk about who they re-signed. So Cooper Rush, he's back on the team with a 2-year, $6 million contract. So you get a guy that is a proven backup. You can improve upon that. You can definitely draft someone and develop them, but the Cowboys are comfortable with that. You re-signed Rico Dowdle, who's probably going to be a camp body, and Dante Fowler, who we thought was going to be back. I mentioned that before it happened. And with that, no shocker there. Then you go to Leighton Vander Esch, probably one of the biggest re-signings by the Cowboys with the money, given the facts. 2 years, $8 million. C.J. Goodwin, your special teams ace, is back on another 1-year contract. And then Donovan Wilson, 3 years, $21 million. In my opinion, the biggest thing the Cowboys needed to do was bring back Leighton Vander Esch and Donovan Wilson, and they did exactly that. I'm very happy that the Cowboys got these deals done as quickly as they did, because when you look at the money, while you're paying Donovan Wilson the market value for a safety of his caliber, Leighton Vander Esch actually signed under market value, which is a pretty good job by the Cowboys front office. So all props to them there. Now we need to talk about who they added to the team, which I've gone on record, as well as other people. We didn't feel like the Cowboys were going to be as active in adding people. Hey, if you can add some guys in here and you can, lower the hit of people leaving when we go into the draft, you can go BPA and really add some talent onto the squad. So who did they get? The Dallas Cowboys, in their first two acquisitions, traded for Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks. They go to the AFC South to get some talent there. Stephon Gilmore, you traded a 5th-round comp pick for, and then Brandon Cooks, you traded a 5th-round pick and a 6th-round pick in 2024. That is good management with draft capital. The biggest thing is that when it comes to how you handle acquiring players, you want to use late-round picks to get guys that you know damn well can come in and be better than that pick. Obviously, you look at guys like DaRon Bland, for example, be like, well, look at what you got with DaRon Bland. Of course, you're not going to hit every single time. In fact, we've talked about how the Cowboys don't really do well on day 3 for the most part. And so I don't really have an issue with this. The Dallas Cowboys get their guys, and they're talented at that. Brandon Cooks comes in and is immediately, with regards to where Gallup is at, assuming he doesn't get any better, he's immediately your wide receiver too, and provides an element to your offense that you did not have in the passing game, which is speed, And since speed kills, this is a much welcome sight. Stephon Gilmore, while on the older side, he is an upgrade as of this point in time over Anthony Brown and company. You get a guy that's going to come in and immediately be an amazing addition alongside Trevon Diggs. So I'm really curious to see how those two really work together in unison, because Stephon Gilmore is still a top cornerback in this league. Is he what he once was? No. But I will say, if you're asking him to be your cornerback too, he's a good one at that. So the Cowboys did really good with adding these two bits of talent, and you addressed really, when we started, the two biggest needs that I talked about is you need a wide receiver, 2 at best, and a cornerback 2, and they did exactly that. So then what did they do? They went out and they signed Ronald Jones at running back and guard Chuma Edoga from the Jets. Now, what's interesting is the Cowboys were interested in Cooks and Edoga at the trade deadline last year, but they didn't pull the trigger, which is smart. Now, granted, it didn't help your team in the short term, but maybe here and now going into 2023, it helps you even more so. So I want to make it clear. Ronald Jones isn't a scrub, but with what you're probably paying him on a 1-year contract, he's going to be a power back. And if he makes the team at that, because I'm not going to be shocked if the Cowboys even trade for someone, right? You really think about it this way. The Dallas Cowboys added their depth signings alongside 2 starter additions. This is what we've been waiting for, Cowboys fans. Listen, I don't have a problem if you go after Ronald Jones. In fact, that's a nice signing. And then also Edoga, that's a decent signing too. I think the biggest issue I have had, if you've been following me for the longest time, is that why is it that, we're trying to add all this talent here and, you don't do anything to replenish with what you lost. So now, with what the moves that have been made, and we will probably see a couple more, like Hankins should be back. There is the rumor that T.Y. Hilton should be back as well. Now we're cooking with grease going into the 2023 NFL draft, because now you can go BPA however you damn well look at it. So that is some impressive work by the Cowboys this go around. And that's what I have wanted to see for the longest time. I understand that I can be more negative, or really negative and pessimistic than other people, but it's because I want to see this team succeed. I want to see this team do moves that I can be like, you know what, you guys are trying, and they're trying. They have finally said, you know what, let's go ahead and do some moves here. And this is probably going to be the closest we get to all in that we see, but when you really think about it, it's not really an all-in maneuver, because you're not pulling out all the stops to get all the players. But this is what we wanted. Rather than going to Dollar General, we're now going to Five Below. I think if you can go from Five Below to Marshall's, that's the range I would like the Cowboys to be in. This is what competent NFL franchises do. When you know you're close, and you really don't need to make splashy signings, which I've said the Cowboys don't need to do that. If they want to, cool with me, but they didn't have to do that. What they did is they added adequate talent to this team without giving up a whole lot. And keep in mind, with what they did to Brandon Cooks' contract is masterful, getting more cap space. So I expect them to do a little bit more, hey, let's go ahead and add some guys here and there. But I think if you add Jonathan Hankins back or a DT that, you can rely on to stop the run, then we're going into the draft doing whatever the fuck we want to do. And I can't, complain about the pick we made. That's where we need to be. You want to go into the draft with BPA on your mind every single go around, regardless of the situation. And the Cowboys did an amazing job at that. And we can just give props. There are people complaining about the moves they made. I ain't doing that. I have asked for the Cowboys. I'm like, oh my God, the Cowboys are finally doing moves. That's all I'm asking for. So with that being said, guys, that's where we stand right here. I would have to give the Cowboys free agency class a B to B+. We'll see how things go throughout it because this is still changing. We're through the first week, and the Cowboys did these moves. Impeccable. So we'll see how things go from there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, guys, have a good one. Goodbye.